welcome to my podcast. So if the thumbnail brought you here, you may be disappointed because this is not an Apple versus Google episode. The reason it's there is because I waited too long to drop this episode, and too long is relative. I've had the phone, the Pixel 10, for a week. I'm loving it, we'll talk about it, but in that week, and some change, I got it the day before release. What happened today actually was the Apple event where they launch all the new iPhones. That's the biggest event in the consumer tech space, and so that's going to steal all my thunder, so I have to talk about that a little bit before I delve into my experience with the Pixel 10. Apple had their big event today, and it was good. It was a good event. Like last year, the iPhone 16 launch was kind of a nothing burger. They introduced some things. Apple always releases a good product, but as compared to what they released the year before, it wasn't hugely different. Today, Apple launched something that was refined as a piece of hardware, if not an aesthetic beauty, because the new iPhone 17 on the Pro side it's ugly. It's an unattractive phone, but as someone who classically does not care about that so much, I have to give it to them. They launched a piece of hardware that has a lot of value, that brings a lot of value, especially for the regular 17, without boosting the price. They brought out something that was stronger and more powerful, has better cameras in a way that is beyond what is expected, and most importantly, on that base model of the iPhone 17, they have it with 256 gigs of storage. All base models should have that much storage, and Apple's been a holdout, and I think Samsung's still a holdout for the base model for 256 gigs of storage. I believe that they were able to do this, add like a stronger body and bigger cameras and more storage, and of course the faster, more expensive CPU like they do year over year, because of some deals that maybe Tim Cook cut with Trump. But ultimately, wherever the morality of the situation hangs and how you feel about it, they were able to release a good product at the same price year over year once again, and I have to give kudos to Apple. This may be their year. Like at the end of the year this year, they may have like the general phone of the year because of it. There are other products, the iPhone Air. I don't care so much about the Air, although it is an impressive piece of technology as the thinnest device released yet. I think the iPhone Air is probably the same thinness as maybe an open Galaxy 7 Fold. So impressively thin. And it's beautiful, but the utility remains to be seen. Also across the line, they increased the screen brightness. I think the entire line now has not only 120 hertz, but ProMotion, so it dynamically adjusts the frame rate from 1 to 120 hertz across the line. That's expensive, unless you're creating displays at scale like Apple does. And yes, so even their base model, which has been a complaint for years, since the iPhone 13, where people were like, I hope next year they release 120 hertz on the base model. So it wasn't the next year, or the year after that, or the year after that, but the year after that, the base model gets 120 hertz. They have 3,000 nits peak brightness, which is an industry standard at this point for Android phones. For nice phones, you get at least 3,000 nits peak brightness. They have ceramic shield, which is the ceramic-infused glass on the front and back of the phone. I think that's across all models too, so a tougher screen material and a tougher back glass material. They've also changed the construction so that more of the phone's frame is aluminum. They've gotten rid of titanium at the high end because titanium holds heat and caused heating issues on earlier models, even though they were like, oh, we got sexy titanium now. So more aluminum on aluminum chassis across the lines, and the Pro and I believe the Air have vapor chambers, which no iPhone has had before. They haven't had vapor chambers, which helps with cooling. It stops overheating, and these chips probably run hotter even though they're smaller because of the power boost that comes year over year from Apple's insane SoC engineering. At the high end, they have, I don't think this is across the line. I think this is just at the high end. They have, or maybe it was just the Air. They have Apple's custom Bluetooth and Wi-Fi module on the board. I don't know if that's on the SoC or on the board, but it's theirs, their custom module. And for the Air especially, They have Apple's custom, or the second generation of Apple's custom modem, the one that they use with the 16E that's supposed to be incredibly efficient and fast. I think the version 2 is supposed to be twice or 3 times as fast as version 1 was. So they really have something going on here. And yeah, once again, kudos to Apple's 48 megapixel cameras across the board, except for the front-facing camera, which is now 18 megapixels across the board, and is a square sensor, so it can frame in landscape or portrait orientation. So you can now take landscape selfies from the front-facing camera in vertical, which is a really cool feature. I don't know how much people think about things like that, but I think that's a really cool feature. They didn't talk too much about AI stuff, but they, of course, boosted the ML capabilities tremendously on this new iPhone, so I'm sure some things are coming to replace the complete flop that their AI was last year. I feel like that's probably enough Apple stuff, because that's not what this episode is about. So, this year, Google had their 10th anniversary Pixel phone. The Pixel came out in actually 2016, but the 10th version of the Pixel is this year in 2025, the Pixel 10. So, I'm a longtime Pixel fan. I've been using Pixels since 2019. And so my experiences are colored by the fact that I've been using Pixels since 2019. I've touched some other phones in that time, and I've used an iPhone along with all the phones that I've used because of work for much longer than that. So those are my experiences, and that is what colors my general experience. I was carrying a Pixel 8 before. My Pixel 8 was a good phone, and I didn't need to upgrade. But because every year I had gotten a Pixel that was not the Pro end of the spectrum, I didn't get everything I wanted. The thing I was missing most was a telephoto lens. Back in, was it 2015 or 2016 when the LG G6 came out and it had that ultra-wide? I was like, ultra-wide is the future. This is awesome. I think in my video about the LG G6, I said something about, as a catchphrase that LG could use, it was, you don't have to step back to move forward, to encompass what that ultra-wide lens could do for photography. And it was cool in the moment, but in the modern time, after the patina, the sheen is worn off of having an ultra-wide lens, I don't use it that often. Probably once every 15 or 20 shots, I'll take an ultra-wide picture. What I could have used all that time was a telephoto lens, because I zoom in a lot. And over the course of time, I've cheaped out by buying the base model, because I can't justify spending over $1,000 for a phone. But if you can't get an ultra-wide, or can't get a telephoto lens. And so all those years, I should have been either buying the Pro model of the Pixel or one of the Samsung high-end Galaxy S phones, and I didn't, because I would have had my telephoto lens and I would have been happy. If in 2023 I had gotten the Galaxy S23 Plus, I would have been happy. More money than I would have wanted to spend, but in the long run, that would have carried me through and I would have been happy. But I didn't, so I wanted a camera that had a telephoto lens. This year's base Pixel has a telephoto lens. I decided to move on up, and with the trade-in I got for my 256 gig Pixel 8, because I wanted more storage when I got that, that should be the base amount, I was able to get the phone functionally for free. I think it may have been an extra $100 divided along the 2 years of my plan, or whatever the carriers use to suck you in for another 2 years. Don't mind. So that's like an extra $2 or $3 a month to get this $900 phone. So functionally it is free, and I love it. Why do I love it? In a world of options where all phones are good, what makes the Pixel 10 especially good? Well, for one thing, it's beautiful. I really do like the design. I don't know if I like it more than I like the Pixel 8's design, but it's different, and it feels incredibly premium in the hand. It's heavy as hell. It is such a heavy device, such a dense device, but I got this Taurus MagSafe clear stand case that has sheer sides. Basically, the top and corners are covered by the polycarbonate shell, and the bottom and corners are covered by, but the sides are not covered. The case is clear, and you can see how beautiful the phone is, and I'm loving it. It's a lovely device, and it feels premium. So it probably feels more premium than it looks good. It's probably the best looking phone on the market right now, because everything looks like an iPhone, so the small differentiations are the things that stand out. In this case, the camera bump on the Pixel, the camera pill on the back, looks better than anything else that's on the market currently. So I like that. After that, it has a better mobile antenna, which was something that was super important to me as well. I never had any connectivity issues with the mobile antenna of the previous Pixels, but I did have efficiency issues. This antenna has better connectivity, because I lied not saying I didn't have any connectivity. I didn't have any serious connectivity issues, but there's a dead spot in my neighborhood, inexplicably, and this mobile antenna powers through that dead spot. So the new mobile antenna is great. It still doesn't solve my main problem with the Pixels, which is that Samsung's modem, which Pixel or Google retained on these Pixels, even though they have a TSMC-made SoC. TSMC is the biggest chip fabricator in the world. They have a more efficient, better process than Samsung did, who fabricated all the old Tensor chips. So up to Tensor 5, or G5, Generation 5, that's on this Pixel 10, is made by TSMC versus Samsung. What that promised was a more efficient power use. And it also went to a different die shrink process, to a 3 nanometer. I think they're TSMC's second gen 3 nanometer die shrink process, where the last couple Pixels were on the 4 nanometer process. And it was Samsung, so it doesn't actually equate to the same thing. Yeah, it's a more efficient chip. It's faster. It's faster than any previous Pixel chip, and the power jump is probably greater than it has been between the previous generations of chips. But this is where the fanboys fall apart, because it is still a generation and a half behind everybody else on the market. It'll be 2 generations behind in like now, with Apple's release of their current generation A19 chip, and when OnePlus releases a phone with the first generation of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5 or Elite 2, whatever they end up calling it, those will be 2 generations ahead of what this is. But I'm not mad at this SoC. It performs well for all the tasks that I do. It's probably playing in the realm of power of, on the CPU side, of something like the Exynos 2400, and on the high-end graphics side, it's probably playing in the realm of, once again, something like the Exynos 2400. It's not as fast graphically as the Exynos 2400, but it's in that range. It's like the low end of that range. Maybe like the Exynos 2400E. So last year's SoC, but premium for last year. And then Google focuses their capabilities on the NPU. That's what Tensor was named after, their Tensor NPU core. So the neural processing engine on this chip is Google's custom Tensor, and it's like the 5th generation of that on their SoC. It's not more powerful than anybody else's SoC or anybody else's NPU at this point, but it does certain custom things very well. Google tunes it to do these custom things very well. And I keep saying over and over again that Google needs to promote numbers for this. Whether they're better or worse, they need to say, hey, our NPU does this many operations against language pattern recognition or vocal analysis or image analysis versus what the competition does. They don't say that. They'll say it against their own SoCs, and if you do the reverse engineering of the numbers over time, you can probably tell what their NPU does well versus what is currently on the market, and it's probably in a state of parity across the board mostly. But what Google does, they do very well. They do the language analysis very well. They do the voice analysis very well. Text analysis, they do that very well. And image analysis too, more data accumulation, because Google makes their money off of aggregating data to sell ads. So the custom things that their NPU does on this SoC, it does well. And they are not trying to be competitive elsewhere. They're just trying to give you a solid experience, which they do. Their OS runs smoothly. It is mostly stable in the Android space versus other Android things. At this point, currently, it's probably more stable than a lot of iOS stuff, because so many people want to see iOS 26 that so many people have been running on the pre-release version of iOS 26, and evidently it's buggy as hell. Yeah, I'm having a good time here. I'm enjoying it very much. But the most important part of this is not, to me, the AI stuff, because it does a lot of AI stuff, probably more AI stuff than any other phone on the market. more than Samsung, definitely more than Apple, more than OnePlus. No, to me, the important stuff is the camera. Because that's the partner that brought me to this dance, to the Pixel dance, was great cameras. And over time, everybody's caught up. Everybody has great cameras, they just take pictures in their own way. Maybe not as great across the board for picture taking as the Pixels are, but that's a matter of opinion as well. I've heard it said many times that the Pixel is the best point-and-shoot camera on the market, but it doesn't have the versatility of other camera systems on smartphones, and that is probably true. But all I do is point and shoot, maybe boost the vibrance a little bit, push it out into the world. And for that, it takes some beautiful pictures. Still, I wasn't fully sold on this because one of the changes they made for the Pixel 10, we're talking the regular Pixel 10, not the Pixel 10 Pro, because like I said, I don't ever get the Pro model. I just wanted this version because it has the telephoto camera. But one of the things that they did versus the previous Pixels, the regular Pixels, is to downgrade the main sensors. Because of the addition of the telephoto camera, to keep cost even, they downgraded, and for differentiation with the Pros, they downgraded the main sensor, which has always been the same sensor as is on the Pro series. They downgraded the main sensor to the same smaller 48 megapixel sensor that is on the $1,800 Folds and on the Pixel 9a. And they downgraded the ultra-wide sensor to the one that's on the Fold and the Pixel 9a. These are smaller sensors than what you would normally get on the base model Pixel. The thing is that when the Pixel 9a came out, which is the budget Pixel, it's not really a budget phone, it's like a mid-range, it's like the nicest mid-range phone, but people said, oh, these pictures look exactly like the pictures on a regular Pixel, until they came to the regular Pixel series. They're like, F these sensors. In practice, they look better than what's on the 9a and probably on the Fold as well because they have a couple more things going for them than those do. One is laser autofocus. The regular Pixel has laser autofocus where the 9a does not. That prevents focus peaking and helps it find the subject more easily in more varied conditions, especially at night. And it has a new ISP, an image signal processor that was developed by Google, because before then they were using basically Samsung's image signal processor along with their custom hardware. Those two advantages, because of the new silicon, help this Pixel 10 create a better image than the Pixel 9a ever did. Now in testing, at first, a lot of the images came out soft as compared to what I was seeing on my Pixel 8 for years and years, and probably the 7 and the 6 before that, because I used both of those. But it's a more vibrant image, and even though it is not quite as stable at night, it does a lot of noise processing for night images. Doesn't bring quite as much light, so if you're shooting in a very challenging condition, it might not be the same, but they are very pleasing pictures. I think after that update that it just received, that might have improved camera performance a bit too, but as I said, it's kind of a mature sensor, so I don't really see that as being a thing, but I guess it's a thing. It's been used for a couple years at this point. It was used in the first Pixel Fold, the second Pixel Fold, and then the 9a. So they've had experience with these sensors. I've taken some beautiful pictures. I've taken some amazing pictures, actually, and because of that telephoto lens, I've taken probably the coolest shot I've taken from a smartphone camera in years. Like, I took it and immediately start sending it, not on social media, but to friends saying, look at this shot I got, with responses coming back saying, that is amazing. And that's what happens when you take a lot of pictures all the time. Sometimes you'll get an amazing picture. Neither here nor there. It's a good camera. Is it great? Is it going to be recognized as great in the long term? Probably not. But it takes shots that look like Pixel shots, so they are well-pleasing. It has more range because of that telephoto sensor, which has given me a smartphone capability that I've been searching for years. I was buying like add-ons, like clip-on telephoto lenses. I had purchased a monocular that boosts way past what telephoto lenses do, but it wasn't a clean, solid image because it wasn't meant to be used that way. Spent all that money when I could have just gotten something like this years ago, but I couldn't have gotten something like this because I would have gotten something that had a very small 3x telephoto lens as opposed to this a little bit bigger than Samsung's 3x, 5x telephoto lens. And even though it only zooms up to 20 times, The super res zoom algorithm that Google uses, not to be confused with their ProRes zoom on their Pro models, which fixes an image at 100 times, applies AI trickery to give you a stable image that is not real. Super res zoom applies some more subtle, lighter touch trickery to make a usable image out of an image that's not awesome. And at 20 times, that's the perfect amount of zoom to make a really usable image. It's not something that you want to share all over the place because it's still a soft picture, but it has a lot of detail at 20 times in daylight, and I have shared some of those because they're interesting looking images. And you can see stuff. It does a really good job. I'm having a great time with this, and the front-facing camera is the one from the Pixel 9, so that is actually a better front-facing camera than you would get on the 9A or even the Fold. It's a 10.3 or 10.5 megapixel sensor, but it has a decent size and it has autofocus. So it can find your face and focus on your face, and you get depth of field effects in the background on the front-facing sensor, and it looks good. It looks good for talking and walking, vlogging. It looks good for video calls, all the good stuff. So yeah, I'm having a good time with this. Battery life has been solid, although, as I said earlier, that 5G antenna that works even better than it did before. So this Exynos, I think it's called the 5400 modem, is better than the 5300B modem was that was in my old phone. It still runs hot on 5G. And so, although battery life is good on the Pixel 10, if you turn off 5G and just use LTE, as it has been in the past, you get incredible battery life and your phone runs cool all day. When the phone is hunting for a 5G signal or switching towers or looking for LTE because it can't find 5G, or switching between wireless and 5G, phone will get hot. Just like all the others have, because that Samsung modem is still not efficient. That is not a deal breaker for me, but it's pretty close to one. The battery life is good. It doesn't overheat. I haven't experienced any overheating, but I haven't really pushed it hard. I've played some games where it's gotten warm but not super hot, but I haven't had it plugged in charging while doing GPS on a hot day in the car or something like that to really push it. I think the hardest I pushed it was with Destiny Rising. I played that for about 20 minutes at one sitting, which is longer than I usually play a mobile game, and it got hot on one particular play. It was still like initiating the shaders, I think. That's because the next time I played it, it did not get that hot, and then the next time I played it, it never got that hot again. That was a process too. So the GPU in this thing is a Power VR GPU, which is a name I haven't heard since the old school iPhone days. I'm sure that they still make mobile GPUs, I just haven't heard about them. And I'm not sure why Google decided to go with them. Decently powerful. I wish it was more powerful. It also can't be read correctly by some of the benchmarks, which is not terribly important to me because it just performs better than previous Pixels. In the Google universe, not outside of the Google universe, but in the Google universe, it does well. It's more performant and more stable than the Pixel 9 was on similar games, and it's the first Pixel that can run PUBG at 120 frames per second. Doing pretty well, I'd say, but it could be better. And unlike the CPU performance, which I think is perfectly acceptable, I feel like at this point in the development of the Tensor SoCs, Tensor should be able to run any game that people play on the regular that's popular with full settings. It's a premium SoC that's supposed to do all the premium things, so you should be able to run Call of Duty Warzone or Genshin Impact. You should be able to run Genshin Impact or Wuthering Waves. Any of that stuff should operate at the highest settings at least 60 frames per second, if not 120. This phone can't do that. It doesn't bother me because I'm not a hardcore mobile gamer. I like emulation the most. If it can emulate the Sega Saturn, I'm good to go. I haven't tested the PS2 emulation. I think with this GPU that might be funky, but I'm sure that will be good to go too. I've tested PSP emulation, all the settings all the way. That's good to go. But yeah, as a gaming phone for the kind of gaming I do, which is not competitive gaming, it's just I like to play campaigns, it works very well. And for photography, it works very well. For photo editing, it works very well. I haven't done any video editing on this, which is something that I do from time to time. So we'll see how fast that is as compared to how it feels, because I've already gotten rid of my Pixel 8. I traded that in to get this, but we'll see how fast it feels as compared to previous experiences. I'm excited to do that, because that's something that I enjoy doing on my phone as well, using it for stuff. Using it to edit photos and edit audio from time to time. Yeah, I'm excited to see all that. But so far, it's been a great experience. The screen is beautiful. I think 3000 nits peak brightness, and peak brightness as described by these OEMs, these original equipment manufacturers, is usually describing peak brightness for a small portion of the screen for HDR. So how bright does it get in that small portion when a movie or video supports HDR and has parts of the screen that can get super bright? It does not describe daylight brightness, which is the number that you want to see. How bright does it get outside? Plenty bright. The Pixel 8 got plenty bright, so this will probably get maybe, 300, 500 nits brighter than that outside. Maybe it'll get to like 2000 nits, 2400 nits outside for its peak brightness. Whatever it is, it'll be plenty bright, because I had no issues with the Pixel 8. The speakers sound good. So evidently the Pixel 10 got new speakers all around. The Pixel 10 Pro got new speakers all around, but the Pixel 10 got a louder earpiece, and it sounds good. It sounds better than the Pixel 8. I don't think it's louder than the Pixel 8 in every situation, but it has more separation and more bass, so it sounds better than the Pixel 8 did, and I'm loving that. And yeah, just like I said, having a good time all around. I think that Google released a good phone this time around, with the caveat that they released this phone with 128 gigs of storage at the same price, where Apple upped their game. So the $800 phone, which is everybody in America's, all the OEM manufacturers, so Apple, Samsung, Google, probably Motorola has an $800 phone too, but that's the base model of the premium phone, is $800. For 128 gigs, or your base model should not have 128 gigs anymore. The base model of every phone should be 256 gigs. They were ramping up pretty consistently over the course of the early days of smartphones, and once they hit 128 gigs, they kind of stopped. I think maybe storage got more expensive or something. Also, storage. 128 gigs, the 128 gig version of these phones has UFS 3.1 support, the speed metric for how fast the storage is. But for the first time ever, the Pixels have UFS 4.0 support, or UFS 4.0 storage at the higher storage limits. So 256 and above has UFS 4.0 storage. And I think that if you go above 512, you get this scoped storage. It's still UFS 4.0, but it manages the storage differently to make it even faster. I don't have that. I got the 256 because 256 is my current base. I store a lot of local media, stuff I don't even look at most of the time, but I like to have it. I like to have a lot of movies and music and books, and I like to take a lot of pictures, and I mostly back them up to Google Photos, but I still like to not have to do that. I like to do it at my leisure. 256 is the current minimum. Get on board, Google. It's a moot point. Google drops the price of their phones pretty quickly. So by Thanksgiving, you'll be able to get the 256 gig Google Pixel for probably $800 or $750, something like that. I'm pretty sure. And it'll be a good deal at that price point. Because although Apple has a great device this year, very competitive, and if you're an Apple fan, it's a no-brainer. You go with that over the Pixel. This year's Pixel is also a great device for Pixel fans. Like, it could have been a bad device for Pixel fans, and some people feel like it is. They're not having a good time with it. They're not having a good time with the antenna. They don't like the fact that it is not super powerful in all aspects. They're like, as a premium player, you should give a premium player's experience. My take on that is that Google is a services company, and what you're paying for with Pixel is the Pixel experience, which is what I like, the pixel experience of the smooth OS that ties into all these services that you use, which I do, smoothly. But also these services, you get a bunch of their AI services kind of built in for free as like a loss leader. And although I don't love the AI services, they are nifty. There's some new services built in because of the tight SoC integration with the back-end services. So there's server stuff happening while there's local stuff happening. One of the things is that you can edit a picture verbally. You can tell the phone what edits you want to make to a picture, and it'll apply those edits. One that I saw that was very impressive to me is that there was a picture I took. There was a flare over an object in the middle of the picture. And so I just asked Google Photos to remove that flare, and it did it non-destructively. It removed the flare from over the object without damaging the object, and it knew what I was talking about. It knew what a flare was. It's like a little bright, translucent spot in the middle of the photo. It removed that. Did not affect the building in the background. I was impressed by that. On the flip side of it, because they want to connect to all these back-end services to do their AI stuff, Magic Eraser, which was one of the OG on-device ML tricks that Google could do, you circle an object and it removes it from the photo by doing like nearest neighbor pattern recognition and filling it in with that pattern, has been replaced with a cloud service. And the cloud service, while really effective, is not as simple to use as Magic Eraser was, because the cloud version of Magic Eraser is, and they're using it because it's what everybody else is doing. They're doing a cloud-assisted service, so it can fill it in accurately in a large variety of situations. But the cloud version of Magic Eraser doesn't do exactly what you want it to. It tries to assume, oh, you want this. And you have to be like, no, I don't want this. You have to kind of redraw your circle or redraw your outline around the thing. And it's like, oh, you want this. I don't want that. I just want you to remove the thing that I drew the line around. And it does not do that every time. It is frustrating. I think they should have both utilities implemented. I want local Magic Eraser that works quickly and does exactly what I want it to, and the more advanced cloud-assisted Magic Eraser that everybody else is using because of its accuracy and what it can do. It basically redraws the photo with magic. The audio recorder now has a function where it will generate AI-generated music behind your audio clip if you'd like it to. Yeah, and AI integrates into a bunch of stuff. There's also an AI function that kind of looks at your messages from mail and your calendar and something else, maybe Keep, for information, so that if you're looking for information in a conversation in mail or in messages, it'll be like, hey, this is the information you're looking for, because it can look at that stuff. That's really interesting. Evidently, it does not work super well for everybody at this point, but it is a moonshot feature. I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm having a good time with the Pixel 10 as compared to my experiences. My experiences with other phones, it falls in line with the experience I've had with other Pixel phones, but better, which is what you want year over year. It's better than the Pixel 3a XL. It's better than the Pixel 6, than the Pixel 7, than the Pixel 8, and probably better than the Pixel 9. I didn't have that one. But yeah, battery life is better. It's faster. It is as or more stable at this point. Actually, upgrade, I don't know if it was the OS upgrade or the device upgrade, but it fixed a bunch of issues I was having with the Pixel 8. Integration into the Chromebook, where you can like use the phone in tandem with the Chromebook, like iPhones integrate into MacBooks, was broken. It wasn't consistently working on the Pixel 8. It works consistently now. I had a bunch of apps that weren't working consistently properly. They just stopped after one of the security patches. Those are working properly now. I did lose a couple things that are, I guess, not supported security-wise, or maybe the developer stopped making them and I only had them because they were already installed on my phone. But that is a small price to pay because I'm having a great time. And so even in the age of the new iPhone, I can celebrate the new iPhone. I'm not jealous at all because that's a great product. And for me, the Pixel 10 is also a great product. I'm not at war with anyone. I have something that is beautiful and functional, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. I get features 4 times a year, like new exciting features, which is not how Apple operates. That's how Google operates. It's not even how Samsung operates. It's how Google operates. I get my monthly patches like clockwork. Google slipped up on that a couple years ago, and they will never be, well, they'll never do it again. Yeah. it's a good time. And so this is my celebration of my new phone, the Pixel 10. I will probably do even another podcast episode about something related to this because I'm having such a good time with it. And Techtember, or I guess Techtember, only comes once a year. It's a big one. I think when iOS 26 comes out and the new RCS comes out for iOS 26, matching what Google does and end-to-end encryption comes in, I'll probably do an episode then because that's exciting to me as well. And that's it. As always, if you'd like to talk to me about Google or the Pixel 10 or the iPhone 17 or whatever else nonsense I've been talking about, or Samsung's new S25 FE. I think the FE series is great. They just don't release it at the right time of year. Yeah, hit me up on Threads at Johnathanblade or Blue Sky. I'm Johnathanblade on there. Instagram, Johnathanblade on there. And we can have a nice conversation. That's JOHN. And as always, we'll catch you in the next one. And thanks for listening.